You do not choose who you fall for. Not really. Something pulls. A voice, a smell, the way someone moves across a room. And before your brain has processed a single rational thought, something ancient inside you has already made up its mind. That pull is not random, it is not modern, and it is certainly not about candlelit dinners or dating profiles. It is a 300,000-year-old decision-making system still running in your body right now. And when you understand how it actually worked, how your ancestors chose who to pair with, who to trust, who to fight for, the way you experience attraction today will never look quite the same. So how did ancient humans actually choose their partners? The answer begins with a problem. A brutal, non-negotiable biological problem that every human ancestor had to solve before anything else. Survival required cooperation. Raising a child in the Pleistocene, the long Ice Age era that shaped most of human evolution, was not something one person could do alone. A human infant is the most helpless newborn of any primate on Earth. It cannot cling, it cannot walk, it cannot feed itself for years. That helplessness was not an accident. It was the price paid for a brain so large it had to exit the womb early before the skull grew too wide to pass through. So from the very beginning, human reproduction was a cooperative project. And that meant partner selection was never just about attraction. It was about survival calculation. Anthropologist Helen Fisher at Rutgers University has spent decades studying the neuroscience and evolutionary biology of human attraction and has identified 3 distinct brain systems that drive human partner choice: lust, romantic attraction, and long-term attachment. Each system runs on different brain chemistry. Each evolved to solve a different reproductive problem. And critically, they do not always point at the same person. In ancient human societies, these 3 systems were pulling in multiple directions at once, shaping partner choices in ways that had nothing to do with the concept of one perfect match. The first system is lust. It is the oldest. It runs on testosterone and estrogen, and its job is simple and brutal. Find any reproductively viable partner and act. Lust does not discriminate much. It is a numbers game. In ancient human populations, small scattered always under threat from disease and predation. Maximizing reproductive opportunity was not selfishness. It was survival arithmetic. The skeletal and genetic record confirms what evolutionary biologists have long suspected. Early Homo sapiens did not operate in strict lifelong monogamy. Genetic analysis of ancient populations published by researchers including David Reich at Harvard Medical School shows significant genetic mixing across groups with patterns consistent with both pair bonding and broader mating networks existing simultaneously in early human communities. The second system is romantic attraction. This is the one that makes you fixate. That keeps a specific face in your mind at 3 in the morning. Romantic attraction narrows the focus of lust down to one particular person and floods the brain with dopamine, norepinephrine, and a sharp drop in serotonin, the same chemical signature as obsessive-compulsive disorder. Fisher's research using brain imaging found that when people look at a photo of someone they are newly in love with, the brain lights up in the caudate nucleus and ventral tegmental area regions associated with reward motivation and craving, not with emotion. Romantic love at the neurological level is closer to addiction than to feeling. And in ancient human terms, this obsessive focus served a purpose. It concentrated energy resources and protection onto one reproductive partner, long enough to get through the most vulnerable period of early childhood together. But how did ancient humans actually decide who triggered that obsessive focus? What cues were they reading? The body was the primary language. Before words, before gifts, before status. Displays involving accumulated objects. The ancient human body was broadcasting a continuous stream of biological information that potential partners were reading in real time. Symmetry was one of the most powerful signals. A symmetrical face and body indicates that the individual developed without major disruption. No significant disease load, no serious developmental stress, no parasitic infection severe enough to distort growth. Research by evolutionary psychologist Randy Thornhill at the University of New Mexico found that across cultures, body symmetry correlates strongly with perceived attractiveness and with actual measures of immune function and reproductive success. Your ancestors were not choosing symmetrical faces because they thought they were beautiful. They were reading a health report. Smell was perhaps even more powerful. You have heard of pheromones. but the deeper mechanism is more specific and more extraordinary. Research based on the major histocompatibility complex, a cluster of immune genes abbreviated as MHC, shows that humans are attracted to the body odor of people whose immune genes differ from their own. The landmark study by Klaus Wedekind at the University of Lausanne, known informally as the Sweaty T-shirt study, had women smell T-shirts worn by men with different MHC profiles, and consistently found that women rated the smell of men with dissimilar immune genes as more attractive. In ancient human terms, this was immune system optimization. Offspring born to parents with complementary immune profiles have broader disease resistance. Your nose was a genetic compatibility test, and it was running constantly in every social interaction in every moment of proximity. Voice mattered. Posture mattered. The quality of movement mattered. Ancient humans in small interdependent bands were reading each other continuously, updating assessments in real time, because the stakes of a wrong partnership choice were not heartbreak. They were death. A partner who fell seriously ill. A partner who could not contribute to the food supply. A partner who attracted conflict with neighboring groups. These were not romantic setbacks. They were survival crises. And then there was the third system, long-term attachment. This is the quieter one. It runs on oxytocin and vasopressin hormones released through touch, through sustained proximity, through the shared experience of raising children together. Attachment does not feel like lust, and it does not feel like romantic obsession. It feels like home. And in ancient human bands, attachment formed not just between two people, but between an individual and the entire group. The concept of a nuclear couple sealed off from the broader community did not exist. Children were raised communally. Anthropologist Sarah Blaffer-Hrdy at the University of California, Davis, whose research on cooperative breeding in humans has reshaped our understanding of early human childcare, argues that the alloparenting system in which grandmothers, aunts, older siblings, and unrelated community members all participate in raising children was not a supplement to parental care. It was the foundation. Partner choice was therefore embedded in a much larger social web. Who you paired with was partly determined by who your group approved of, who contributed well, who was trusted by the people whose survival depended on collective judgment. So let us reconstruct the moment. You are in a small band of 30 people moving through the grasslands of Eastern Africa 200,000 years ago. You are watching someone across a fire. Your brain is calculating without your knowledge. Symmetry. Smell carried on the night air. The way they handled a situation earlier in the day. Their reputation among the people whose opinion you trust with your life. Whether they made you laugh, whether they shared food without being asked. All of it is being processed simultaneously, feeding into a decision that feels like feeling, but is actually ancient biology doing very precise work. There was no single moment of choosing. Partner selection in ancient human groups was a continuous community-embedded, biologically guided process, spread across months and years of close observation. Modern humans compress this into the length of a dinner or a swipe. The underlying system is still running the same ancient code, which is why the face that pulls at you across a room is not your imagination. It is not chemistry in the casual modern sense. It is a 300,000-year-old assessment engine that has been reading biological signals since before your species had a name. The dinner, the flowers, the carefully chosen words, those are the modern wrapper. What is actually happening underneath is the same quiet calculation your ancestors made across a fire in the dark, trying to find the person worth surviving with. And that pull you felt, the one you could not explain, your ancient self already knew exactly why.